Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name is Jim. Thanks for riding along today. We're just going to go slow and steady down this old, familiar country dirt road. You can find us at babyboomertales.com. Once you've arrived at our webpage, there are links to many places you can listen to our podcast. You can access our Boomers General Store from there, find our YouTube channel from there, and see several pictures of the country that I talk about the most up in north central Colorado and the Rocky Mountains up there. Also around here in northeastern Kansas. How are you doing today? Our song of the week this week is The Greatest American Hero, Believe It or Not, by Joey Scarborough. It was written by Mike Post and Stephen Geyer. It's the theme song for the TV show The Greatest American Hero. This great song reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in June of 1981. It also appeared in 2021 on a Tide laundry detergent commercial. It was also on a Seinfeld episode, if you remember that episode at all. Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Yeah, that was a pretty funny episode. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free. Our unusual fact, the average person in the United States spends 15 years of watching TV in their lifetime. I would have thought it was more. This episode, Television, My Favorite TV Shows, Volume 2, we're covering the 1980s in this. Our Volume 1 that we did in August of 2022 covered 1955 through 1980. So what I want to do is go every year, do another decade of it until we reach 2020. At that point, I'm going to stop these if I'm still going at all, because network TV just does not have enough shows that I could say is my favorite. And I'll cover that later in this podcast. So let's get started here. I'm going to do 4 per year. Last time, since I covered so many years, I covered 3 per year. I'm not going to repeat any shows, or at least not on purpose. So if, say, MASH is my favorite show year after year after year, I'm not going to do that. I'll just cover them on 1 year. Here goes. 1980 through 81 TV season. Little House on the Prairie. Pa, Half Pint, Ma, Mary, Mr. Edwards. Remember all them? Mork and Mindy. Nanu Nanu. The Waltons. We had John Boy and all his family in Depression-era Carolina mountains. And the last one in the 80 through 81 TV season, Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell Sisters, featuring Earlene, Louise, and Barbara, and one from 1980 through 82. 1981 through 1982 TV season, WKRP in Cincinnati, ran from 1978 through 82. Laverne and Shirley. Besides those two, we had Lenny and Squiggy. I always like to call them Squiggly. At least that's what Homer Cates like to call them, Squiggly. Yeah. Taxi. We had Laca Gravas, Louis De Palma, and a great cast of characters. And the final one in this TV season, One Day at a Time. Ran from 1975 through 1984, about a single mother raising 2 teenage daughters. 1982 through 83 TV season. The Jeffersons, George, Archie Bunker's friend. MASH, which ran from 1972 through 83, great cast of characters, Hawkeye and Trapper John, etc. By this TV season, though, Trapper John was long gone. Fame, starring Debbie Allen, ran for 5 years, 82 through 87. One of the famous people that played a student for one season, Janet Jackson. And Happy Days, the Fonz. 1983 through 84 TV season. Alice, she worked at Mel's Diner. Flo said, "Kiss my grits." Night Court, Judge Harry and Prosecutor Dan Felding. Cheers, Norm. And Family Ties, featuring Michael J. Fox. 1984 through 1985 TV season. ER, set in Chicago, a hospital there, emergency room in Chicago. Great cast of characters, and the characters kept rotating, it seemed like. Magnum P.I. This one featured Tom Selleck, set in Hawaii. Hill Street Blues, that ran from 1981 through 87. And the last one on this TV season, Highway to Heaven, with Michael Landon. I never could watch this show without thinking of Paul on Little House. 1985 through 86 TV season, Growing Pains, starring Alan Thicke and Kirk Cameron. The Cosby Show, you know, the Huxtable family. Different Strokes, what you talking about, Willis? And Who's the Boss, featuring Tony Danza. The 1986 through 1987 television season, we had Moonlighting with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. Our House, Wilford Brimley was the star of that. A family lived in Grandpa's house. I can't really remember, but probably Dad got killed and Mom moved her family back in with her father. Murder, She Wrote, starring Angela Lansbury. And the last one on this TV season, Dallas, with old J.R. Ewing. Remember J.R.? Who shot J.R.? I don't know if it was this year. 1987, The Wonder Years. Kevin and Winnie and Paul. This is truly one of my all-time favorite TV series. I guess you could classify it as a sitcom, but it was more than that. It was deeper than the sitcom. The very first show of The Wonder Years, it was probably the pilot. Winnie's older brother, Brian, got killed in Vietnam. It was very deep, had some great music, and even though Kevin was in junior high school in 1968, that's the year I graduated from high school, I can relate with this show more than most shows there's ever been. 30-something lasted from 1987 through 91. It covers, I think, 3 families, and yeah, they were all 30-something. In the Heat of the Night, Sheriff Gillespie and Mr. Tibbs. This is a takeoff on that famous movie, and they did a good job of it for TV. I thought they did a great job of it. And the last one of this TV season lasted from 1986 through 1990, Alf. Now I know, Jim, you're pretty shallow. Alf? Well, think about it. Number one, I picked it because I thought I didn't have 4 for this year, and then I found that I forgot to bring one up from a year because I'm trying to do 4 per season. And you know what? If you think about it, Alf was pretty good. It was pretty deep. I liked it. 1988 through 89 TV season. And this is where I have 5 because I forgot to move 1 to the year before. I had 40 shows, 10 seasons, that's 4 per season, right? Well, now I have 41 because I forgot to move 1 up and replaced it with Alf. So let's do 5 of them here. First one, Roseanne, starring Roseanne Barr. They seem about as normal an American family as you could get. Number 2, Coach, starring Craig T. Nelson and Jerry Van Dyke. Quantum Leap, about this guy that could leap into the future. The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. And Smothers Brothers had a show of some sort, a variety show of some sort, starting in the 60s. I really liked that. Tommy Smothers acted so dumb, and yet we all know he was not. And the last one, Newhart, not to be mistaken or confused with the Bob Newhart Show, where he was a psychologist in Chicago. No, he was an innkeeper in Vermont, and some of his best friends in the world were Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. The 1989 through 1990 television season, Doogie Howser, M.D., starring Neil Patrick Harris. This is about some genius type kid that became a medical doctor by the time he was about 12, something like that. It may seem a little far-fetched, but the show was put together very well. Dealt with him coming of age, plus having to live in an adult's world and be responsible on a medical level with so many people. I thought it was very, very good. Northern Exposure, quirky show if I ever saw one. I wouldn't say it was classified a comedy, maybe a dramedy. It's an hour-long show set up in the area around Anchorage, Alaska somewhere, out in the middle of nowhere. This doctor has to repay his student loans, and he got assigned up there. I love this show. I've tried to find it on streaming channels, and there's something about the music they use and copyright laws that is preventing them from showing it. I hope they get that straightened out someday. I'd like to watch it again. Murphy Brown. Remember old Murph, Jim and Frank and Miles and Eldon? She was a reporter for a TV news show based out of Washington, D.C. It tried to come back a few years ago and fell flat on its face. I understand why. But the old original, it was great. It really was great. And the last one in the decade of the 80s, China Beach, 1988 through 91, is about a mobile surgical type emergency hospital set in Vietnam, in the Vietnam era. The premise of this show is very, very good. Dana Delaney sold it as the lead on this, and I just thought it was a very good show. Well, I know I did watch some TV in the 80s. I was newly married. We had children by then, had both my girls, and we spent a lot of our evenings at home. So TV was very important. I think it was during the latter part of the 80s I got a VCR so I could watch, if Newhart was going up against Who's the Boss or something, I could see them both. I don't know if they were. I just did that off the top of my head. So it used to be you'd have to choose between one or the other. And if you're lucky during the summer reruns, remember those summer reruns? You could maybe catch part of the other one. Well, the VCR changed all that. And now we just think VCRs are ancient history. Let's do DVR or streaming. The reason I'm only going to go through the 2020s or stop at the 2020s is there's just not enough on network TV for me to even make a list like this. I want to tell you the shows that I watched last TV season. This does not include anything I found where I could DVR some old series or watch streaming shows or any of that, but just the network TV shows. Last year I watched The Good Doctor, Quantum Leap, the new version of Quantum Leap, The Amazing Race, Young Sheldon, the only sitcom I could find on network TV, So Help Me Todd, Fire Country, and Blue Bloods. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That averages one per day, one TV show per day. That's not enough to come and try to figure out 40 during a decade. It's just not. I couldn't put it together. Now, I do watch in the summertime and like the off season, American Idol. It usually comes on sometime after the first of the year. It used to last for months, but now it lasts a couple months. I also watch American Ninja Warrior in the summertime and America's Got Talent, 2 summertime shows. And that's all I watch anymore. I'm real into streaming anymore. But to find one that I like and it doesn't bombard me with the F-bomb and all that junk that's out there is a bit of a challenge, but it's doable. It is. We found some good stuff and I do enjoy it. And I do everything over the internet now. I'm kind of a techno guy for a man in the 70s. Made my own website, have my own podcast. Now I stream everything that I watch. Good for me. Well, that's better than sitting there watching some show on one of the networks that I just don't like. Just watch TV. Wake up every morning with a grateful heart and always be kind. And if people care for you and you care for people, it's a high calling to let someone know that you care for them. I'll be back next Wednesday. Peace out.